5. It is known as Pakistan Affairs. It is of 100 marks, and today we are going to discuss its first chapter. The name of the first chapter is Ideology of Pakistan. First of all, we are going to talk about the meaning of ideology of Pakistan, definition, elucidation, and historical aspects.
Elucidation. Making clear, the act of elucidating or that which elucidates, as an explanation, an exposition, an illustration, as one example may serve for further elucidation of the subject.
This is the first area of ideology of Pakistan which Mr. Faisal, our beloved, is going to talk about now. And the next part is that ideology of Pakistan in the light of the speeches, quotations, letters, sermons, etc., delivered, given, written, expressed by two great heroes of the Muslims of the subcontinent. The first one is known as the visionary of Pakistan, named Professor Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal. And the next one is the founder of Pakistan. He is known as Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Mr. Asim is going to talk about ideology of Pakistan in the light of the thoughts, the ideas of Iqbal and Jinnah. So you are ready for the discussion today? Yeah. So let's learn from our beloved Mr. Faisal what is meant by ideology, an ideology of Pakistan. Its definition, elucidation, and historical aspects. Mr. Faisal, please.
With the name of Allah Almighty, who is most beneficent and merciful. What is ideology?
Ideology, in the old Assyrian sense, is the imaginary relation to the real conditions of existence. It can be described as a set of conscious and unconscious ideas which make up one's beliefs, goals, expectations, and motivations. An ideology is a comprehensive normative vision that are followed by people, governments, or other groups that is considered the correct way by the majority of the population, as argued in several philosophical tendencies. It can also be a set of ideas proposed by the dominant class of society, such as the elite, to all members of society, as suggested in some Marxist and critical theory accounts. While the concept of ideology describes a set of ideas broad in its normative reach, an ideology is less encompassing than the ideas expressed in concepts such as worldview, imaginary, and ontology. Ideology refers to the system of abstracted meaning applied to public matters, thus making this concept central to politics. Implicitly, in societies that distinguish between public and private life, every political or economic tendency entails ideology, whether or not it is propounded as an explicit system of thought. The term ideology was born in the highly controversial philosophical and political debates and fights of the French Revolution, and acquired several other meanings from the early days of the First French Empire to the present. The word was coined by Antoine Studied Tracy in 1796, assembling the words idea and logie.
Now, I define the ideology of Pakistan. Pakistan is an ideological state, and the ideology of Pakistan is an Islamic ideology. Its basic principles being the only
sovereign
is Allah Almighty. Islam acted as a nation building force before the establishment of Pakistan. Ideology of Pakistan basically means that Pakistan should be a state where the Muslims should have an opportunity to live according to faith and creed based on the Islamic principles. They should have all the resources at
disposal
to enhance Islamic culture and civilization. According to our Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Pakistan was created the day the first Indian national entered
the
fold
of
Islam.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, now he just gave a very brief talk about the ideology of Pakistan. Do you have any question?
Yes, like you expected from Mr. Faisal.
Okay.
Like ideology, definitely any ideology there is some background, some ideas, some vision,
Okay.
some sublets. Okay, these are the family guidelines which are the basis of the ideology.
True.
So I would like to ask him that when we talk about the ideology of Pakistan, so what were the key objectives? What's the main idea behind this ideology?
Gentlemen.
Because I think
What are the key points?
you meant to say that Iqbal woke up in the morning and said, okay, let's discuss ideology. This is not something happening. Definitely there is some background, some picture. Okay, what were the circumstances?
What were the reasons?
What happened to him that why he thought about the ideology of Pakistan? I answer this question. It's very simple that the ideology of Pakistan actually came from the ideology of an independent subcontinent. Because the first ideology, everybody was putting a combined effort that first we should get rid of this British Empire.
True.
That was the main logic. But while putting these efforts, definitely there were circumstances, the attitude of Hindus towards Muslims, the way Muslims are oppressed. Everybody thought that why, if we are getting this independent subcontinent, later on we are again going to face some problems. Then why don't go for a separate homeland? So this ideology came from that origin.
Absolutely right. This was the behavior of the Hindu society, which made the Muslims of the subcontinent believe that they needed no separate homeland. More simple that. So thank you, gentlemen. Asim is requested to talk about the
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As I just discussed that the ideology doesn't come overnight, it's a process. It's if we may be specific, it is evolution process. Definitely there are background some circumstances that lead to that ideology. Similarly, the ideology of Pakistan, that is also an evolution process. If we sublet it, we have main 4 points that how this ideology came in. First one is the historical experiences, how Muslim got the experiences from the past, that how they were oppressed, what led how they knew that the attitude of the Hindus were oppressive or depressive towards this nation. The second is the philosophical explanation of this ideology. Definitely that idea was given by Mr. Ilham Iqbal. And the third step is the translation of this philosophical explanation into political reality. Our great leader, Mr. Jinnah, he did this part, and then the last part is the Constitution Assembly of Pakistan that was formed in 1949 after the independence. So I will share some of the statements at different occasions, at different meetings by Mr. Iqbal and Mr. Jinnah, that how they contributed, what were their thoughts considering the ideology of Pakistan. First of all, I will start with some of the statements of Mr. Iqbal. I will briefly introduce him that the leaders like Iqbal, to be honest, they are born in centuries. It's very rare to find someone who is so much visionary. That's the main thing. Even if you are a scientist or something else, the first key point is to give a vision. Then other people will contribute and form that thing. That's the most important thing.
सारी दुनिया में कोई मेरा ख्याल है दुनिया का ऐसा मुल्क नहीं जहाँ मैं ना गया हूँ. वहाँ भी मेरी प्रोजेक्शन हमेशा यही होती रही है कि ये इकबालियन फ़लसफ़ा क्या है. یا پاکستان ہم نے کیوں بنایا، اس کا پس منظر کیا ہے. ملک کے اندر بھی نظریہ پاکستان کے متعلق ہی میرے سب سے زیادہ لیکچرز ہیں یونیورسٹیوں میں سے، لیکن افسوس ہے اس کا اثر کوئی نہیں ہوتا معلوم. میرا ان کے ساتھ جو رابطہ بچپن میں رہا ہے وہ بہت تھوڑا وقفہ ہے، چونکہ اس وقت میں 12 سال کا تھا، 13 سال کا، تو وہ فوت ہو گئے. تو اس کا مطلب یہ ہے اگر آپ اس میں سے 12 سال میں سے 6 سال 5 سال بچپن کے نکال دیں جس وقت کوئی پتہ ہی نہیں ہوتا کون باپ ہے کون ماں ہے، تو باقی وہ مدت جو رہ جاتی ہے وہ تو صرف 4-5 برس کی ہے. اور اس زمانے کے والدین جو تھے وہ ہوتے بھی سخت طبیعت کے تھے، ڈسپلن زیادہ ہوتا تھا. تو مار تو میں نے زیادہ تر اپنی والدہ سے ہی کھائی ہے، تو ان کی جھڑکی کافی ہوتی، تو وہ بھی کبھی ناراضگی کا اظہار کرتے تو ہم گھر میں تو بولتے پنجابی تھے، مگر وہ ناراض ہوتے تو اردو میں بات کرتے، اور اگر بہت زیادہ ناراضگی تو پھر انگریزی میں بات کرتے. تو جس وقت ناراض ہوتے تو وہ عموماً 2 ہی ان کو الفاظ بڑے یاد تھے، ایک احمق یا بیوقوف. تو بندہ ایک احمق ہو سکتا ہے، بیوقوف ہو سکتا ہے، پاگل نہیں انہوں نے کبھی کہا، احمق یا بیوقوف. میں نے جو بھی تعلیم بعد میں حاصل کی ان کی وفات کے بعد، اٹ واز کائنڈ آف ڈسکوری آف فادر. اور میں نے 2 ایم اے کیے، انگلش لٹریچر کا، پھر اس کے بعد فلسفے کا، اور فلسفے میں گولڈ میڈل. اچھا یہ کس طرح آ گیا گولڈ میڈل؟ یہ تو جینس ہی تھی. تو پھر اس کے بعد فلسفہ جو بھی میرا بعد کا کیریئر رہا ہے پی ایچ ڈی کا، وہ بھی فلسفے کا ہی تھا. تو پولیٹیکل فلاسفی، اٹ واز مور اور لیس لائک ڈسکورنگ آل دا ٹائم، ڈسکورنگ مائی اون فادر. اور وہ جو ڈسکور کرنا ہے یہ پروسیس ایک جاری رہا. اور عجیب و غریب بات یہ ہے کہ یہ میں آپ سے شیئر کر رہا ہوں یہ ایکسپیرینس، کہ ابھی میں نے ان کی ریکنسٹرکشن لیکچرز پر ایک کتاب لکھی ہے، خطبات اقبال، تحصیل و تفہیم. تو وہ کتاب لکھتے وقت میں نے پہلی دفعہ I somehow the other feel that I have discovered him. اور اسی طرح جب یہ راؤنڈ ٹیبل کانفرنس میں گئے تھے تو میں نے انہیں خط لکھا کہ میرے لیے باجا لیتے آئیں. تو باجا لے کے تو نہیں آئے، لیکن وہ نظم بھیج دی، وہ جس کا عنوان ہے خطاب جاوید، لیکن اس میں شروع ہوتی وہ نظم، دیار عشق میں اپنا مقام پیدا کر، نیا زمانہ ہو نئے صبح و شام پیدا کر.
دیار عشق میں اپنا مقام پیدا کر، نیا زمانہ نئے صبح و شام پیدا کر. خدا اگر دل فطرت شناس دے تجھ کو، سکوت لالا و گل سے کلام پیدا کر. میرا طریق امیری نہیں فقیری ہے، خودی نہ بیچ غریبی میں نام پیدا کر. تم دیے باد مخالف سے نہ گھبرا اے عقاب، یہ تو چلتی ہے تجھے اونچا اڑانے کے لیے. سر سے ڈراتا ہے اسے تو بیکار، ہو چکا ہے جو نصیب سحری سے 100 بار. نہیں تیرا نشیمن قصر سلطانی کے گنبد پر، تو شاہی ہے بسیرا کر پہاڑوں کی چٹانوں میں. کسی طوفان سے آشنا کر دے کہ تیرے بحر کی موج लहजों में इस्तराब नहीं। तुझे किताब से मुमकिन नहीं फराग के तू किताब ख्वाह है साहिबे किताब में। खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है।
He was a great poet, thinker, a great philosopher. Definitely he was a nationalist by his ideas, a very critic poet, and the most important thing that he was educated abroad in British Empire in England. So that was a very positive and advantages for him. And definitely he spent some time there. He was well aware of the weaknesses of the British. So the most important thing that his contribution is that he gave the vision of a separate homeland. At that time there was nothing Pakistan. It was just that they need a separate part where they can exercise Islam, all these practices, and he gave the awareness to the Muslim. That was his key part. In 1930, at the annual session of All India Muslim League, so he officially gave a vision of a separate homeland at Allahabad. He said, I see Punjab and WFP Sindh Balochistan amalgamated into a free state within or without British Empire. And this free state will be the final destiny of Muslims of subcontinent. He further elaborated that Muslims have to establish separate homeland because they can't live with Hindus in this United States. On a separate occasion, he gave a statement that defined that why Muslims need a separate homeland, because Hindus never wanted the separate homeland. They said, okay, we have been living since centuries in this. There was just one homeland. Why are you asking for a separate homeland? So he said that India is a continent of different people, different languages, different races. So I demand of a separate Muslim state which safeguard the rights of Muslims and where they can exercise the Islam as per their will. Even Mr. Jinnah, he was a great admirer of Iqbal, and definitely he had great respect, a great admiration for the vision, and that's the thing he carried out, because first of all, Jinnah was also known as the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. So he took the vision from Iqbal, okay, that led him to the further success of Pakistan. So on a occasion in a gathering, Jinnah admired Iqbal as that if I live to see Pakistan, a separate homeland which Muslim will achieve, and I'm offered between the works of Iqbal and or to rule that free Muslim state, I will definitely accept the former one. So you can see that even if someone like Jinnah is admiring Mr. Iqbal, that I will prefer to follow his footsteps rather than ruling a Muslim state, how visionary that person could be. Okay, the next part we will discuss that how Mr. Jinnah took that vision further on, and he contributed in the making of this prestige homeland for Muslims. If you say, like I said, that the men like Iqbal are born in centuries, then definitely men like Jinnah are born in millenniums, to be honestly. Or you can say then they're just born once in a lifetime. You can't see someone like that. because he's changed the course of histories. He was such a visionary leadership, charismatic leader, I must say. Like I said initially, he was a strong contender, in strong favor of Hindu-Muslim unity, because he said, okay, it's been centuries that Muslims and Hindus and other minorities, we have been living together, and I think it was such a beautiful relationship until the things got political. Everybody was neighbor, Hindus and Muslims was neighbor, so nothing wrong. But after he joined before he joined the Congress, and he said that the whole distribution of resources, distribution of education, each and everything, how Muslims were led down by the Hindus leaders, and how in every daily routine, Muslims are considered as a minority. So that thing, actually, that attitude led him to think that, oh, yes, Iqbal is right. We need a separate homeland where we can practice ourselves, our religion. So Jinnah joined Muslim League in 1930, and that's where he led a struggle for a separate homeland. In 1913, definitely he attended the second roundtable conference, and over there he said, Hindu-Muslim dispute must be resolved, because he was talking to the British, that Hindu-Muslims dispute must be resolved before any enforcement of constitution in the subcontinent. The rights of Muslims must be safeguarded with Muslims' cooperation. Otherwise, if any constitution is forced in subcontinent, it won't even last within 24 hours, because he was of the strong opinion that you have to take Muslims together with you. You can't just ignore them. Okay, you say this is a minority, okay, we discuss all the terms of independence with the Hindus, okay, and we decide the independence. This is not going to happen. That was his main point. He was a firm believer of two-nation theory, and on occasion he defined in his own words that Muslim are a separate nation. They have all the rights to have a separate homeland where they can exercise Islam. On 23rd March 1940, the famous day of Pakistan Resolution Day, he gave a very short and sweet message to identify the Muslim, to give them a separate identity. He said the Muslims are not a minority. They have a separate entity and a separate identity. Further elaborated that India is a subcontinent, not a nation. There are a lot of nations, Hindus, Muslims, and other nations living in this region, and each nation derives inspiration from different sources of history. The key point was that there are different nations, and the major nations are Muslims and Hindus, and they all have different roots. So how it is possible that you ask them to live politically in the same homeland? There will be a lot of disputes. Moving forward, on an occasion addressing to a Muslim university in 1944, Mr. Jinnah said, Muslims or Hindus may be living in the same towns, in same villages for centuries, but they always have separate identities. It doesn't matter, he said, that we've been living for centuries in same villages, same town. It doesn't matter. We have separate identity, they have separate identity. How is it possible to live for us for all the time together with them? And he does put emphasis on Islamic ideology by saying that what relationship knits Muslims into unity? What is the rock foundation over which the unity of Muslims lie? That rock foundation, that relationship is nothing but Holy Quran. So that is something that unites the Muslims, because like we discussed, that there is diversity in the Muslims too. Every has different color, but there is something that keeps them united all along the world, not in the Pakistan. So that was the key point, that it doesn't matter if there is some diversity in the Muslims or they have some other different views, but there is something that will keep them united ever, that is Holy Quran. In 1946, Mr. Jinnah declared that we don't demand Pakistan just a piece of land. We demand a laboratory to practice the exercises of Islam. That was, he said, we don't want just a piece of land, okay, give a land for us, okay, we will live. Our key point is that we want to exercise Islam as per the Islamic laws. So that is our key role. We don't say, okay, we just need a separate homeland to just live. That was his key message to the British Empire and to the Hindus. And in a message to frontier Muslim students, he said, Pakistan means freedom and independence only. But Muslim ideology is a gift and a treasure, and which we will share with each and every one of you. That was, he said that Pakistan, it's not that the Pakistan we are getting independence like this. The The key point, the emphasis, what we want is to, you can say, the practice of ideology, practice of Islamic laws. That's the thing we want here. Definitely Qaid wanted pure Islamic system. Islam is a complete code of conduct of life, and his sole objective was to obtain Pakistan, was to exercise Islam, so that because if we live together like now Indians are living Muslims are living in India, it's quite impossible for them to exercise Islam completely 100%. It's not possible for them. There are a lot of limitations. So he was well aware of that, because he was visionary. He was well aware of all these things that it is going to happen. That made him to put an effort on the basis of Islamic ideology, on the basis of, because to be honestly, the ideology of Islam and ideology of Pakistan, these are not two different things. This is just one thing. This is just a name, because this is an area. Otherwise, this is the same, the ideology of Islam. So this ideology led him to fight, to give an effort for a separate homeland for the Muslims.
On 14th August 1947, the last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten, formally transferred power to the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. Replying to the address of the Viceroy on the occasion, the Quaid-e-Azam said,
Your Excellency, I thank His Majesty the King on behalf of the Pakistan Constituent Assembly and myself for his precious message. I know great responsibilities lie ahead, and I naturally reciprocate these sentiments, and we greatly appreciate his assurance of sympathy and support. And I hope that you will please communicate to His Majesty our assurance of goodwill and friendship of the British nation and him as the crown head of the British government.
I thank Your Excellency for your expressions of goodwill and good wishes for the future of Pakistan. It will be our constant effort to work for the welfare and well-being of all the communities in Pakistan. And I hope that everyone will be inspired by the idea of public service, and they will be imbued with the spirit of cooperation, and will show their political and civic virtue, which those we are part of as friends. And I sincerely hope that for their faith and belief, the whole history of Muslims, wherever they rule, is replete with those humane and great principles, and which should be followed and practiced by us. Finally,
Thank you. Anybody have any questions, please?
It's a really very, very impressive talk, mashallah. Very impressive. Now that, gentlemen, do you have some questions now? I have a few questions now. Gentlemen, you were just talking about, that Jinnah, he was known as, the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity.
Yeah.
And I do believe to that he was known as, the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity.
Hmm.
And a few examples, of his efforts, which he made. And that when we entitle someone, so we entitle someone, having seen, some of the activities, which make us believe so.
Because
so what makes you believe that Jinnah was the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity? What did he do?
First of all, he joined the Congress. The first step was, and when the Muslim League was founded initially, he was on the top of the list who opposed the foundation of Muslim League, because he never wanted to have a separate Muslim League. You can see in the record that he opposed the formation of Muslim League. He said, why go for a separate effort? Let's combine with Hindus. Let's give us a combined effort and get rid of these empires. True. So that's what I know, because initially, then after the circumstances happened, he went to all see the attitudes, see the practical example how the Muslims are impressed, then say, there is some point. Then he joined the Muslim League.
See, I'll just put him a question again now in a different way. Is it possible now to enlist few activities which he carried out, the steps which he took, and he said this was Jinnah's step, which makes us believe that Jinnah was the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity?
No, I'm missing. There was some gathering that he arranged between Hindus and Muslims at some point.
Lucknow
Pact. That was Lucknow Pact.
Okay, yeah.
That was Lucknow Pact.
So he's right now. Gentleman says that, see, let's know that this is our claim. We who love Jinnah, now that the founder of Pakistan, he was not against that all these things. No, actually his effort was there initially to keep Hindus and Muslims united in the same state, in the same country, India now.
Lucknow Pact refers to an agreement reached between the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League at the joint session of both the parties, held in Lucknow in the year 1916. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, then a member of the Congress as well as the League, made both the parties reach an agreement to pressure the British government to adopt a more liberal approach to India and give Indians more authority to run their country, besides safeguarding basic Muslim demands. After the unpopular partition of Bengal, Jinnah approached the League to make it more popular among the Muslim masses. Jinnah himself was the mastermind and architect of this pact. Due to the reconciliation brought about by Jinnah between the Congress and the League, the Nightingale of India, Sarojini Naidu, gave him the title of the Ambassador of Hindu-Muslim Unity. The Lucknow Pact also established cordial relations between the two prominent groups of the Indian National Congress, the hot faction, Garam Dal, led by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and the moderates of the soft faction, the Naram Dal, led by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Muslim League and Congress. As a result of the hard work of Mr. Jinnah and Mahajan from Congress, both the Muslim League and the Congress met for their annual sessions at Bombay in December 1915. The principal leaders of the two political parties assembled at one place for the first time in the history of these organizations. The speeches made from the platform of the two groups were similar in tone and theme. Within a few months of the Bombay meetings, 19 Muslim and Hindu elected members of the Imperial Legislative Council addressed a memorandum to the Viceroy on the subject of reforms in October 1916. The suggestions did not become news in the British circle, but were discussed, amended and accepted at a subsequent meeting of the Congress and Muslim League leaders at Calcutta in November 1916. This meeting settled the details of an agreement about the composition of the legislatures and the quantum of representation to be allowed to the two communities. The agreement was confirmed by the annual sessions of the Congress and the League in their annual sessions held at Lucknow on December 29 and December 31, 1916 respectively. Main features: there shall be self-government in India. The same method should be adopted for the executive councils of governors. The Indian Council must be abolished. The salaries of the Secretary of State for Indian Affairs should be paid by the British government, not from Indian funds. The executive should be separated from the judiciary. The number of Muslims in the provincial legislatures should be laid down province by province. Muslims should be given 1/3 representation in central government. There should be separate electorates for all communities until they ask for joint electorate. System of weightage should be adopted. Term of Legislative Council should be 5 years. Half of the members of Imperial Legislative Council must be Indians. Tilak made a very significant proposal that Congress should appoint a small working committee that would be responsible for implementation of its annual resolutions passed in annual sessions. It was unfortunately squashed by moderates in Congress.
But what happened now with that pact now? Who violated the clauses of that pact? Who violated first of all?
I think Hindus did violate it on a couple of occasions.
Okay. Yeah. So you know that these were the Hindus who violated the clauses of that pact.
Yeah.
So this was the first setback to Jinnah's belief that Hindus and Muslims should live together. The breach of that pact on the hand of Hindus.
Exactly.
made Jinnahs believe that Hindus and Muslims are not the same.
Exactly.
They cannot live in the same country. So any other examples, which makes us believe, that this was Jinnah's, another effort, for the unity of Hindus and Muslims. Those 2 years of Congress rule made Jinnah believe that there was no other choice for the Muslims other than a separate homeland. And the day Congress resigned from the ministries, so Jinnah decided to celebrate that day as the day of deliverance. And that it was 1939.
Yes.
And within a few months, under the leadership of Jinnah, that Pakistan or the Lahore resolution was passed. And after 7 years, Pakistan came into being. And credit goes to the man who led the Muslims of the subcontinent.
Exactly.
And no doubt that such leaders they are born and born once a lifetime.
Exactly.
I do agree.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, dear scholars, young scholars. We will discuss all these things as the rest of the 2 that presentations are over.
Sure.
To be given by Mr. Yasir and Mr. Atif. Clear? So nice of you.
Thank you, sir.
बहनों, आज इस खुशी के मौके पर हम सब मिलकर गाएंगे